welcome to Blackbriar Gaming. Today, we're going to look at the 2023 reveals we've received from the Warhammer community website. There's some pretty obvious silhouettes in the reveals and a couple of trickier ones. Notably, the reveal is missing some units that the Heresy community has been repeatedly asking for. 2023 is going to be a huge year for Heresy, and not just because of these reveals. A quick note before we get into it, a subscribe and a like really helps us reach a bigger audience. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit those buttons down below. Also, be sure to check out our affiliate link in the description. So what are we getting? Well, it starts off, are these in order? Maybe not. The Warhammer community, instead of a new Heresy unit, has today given us a bunch of reveals for 2023. 5 in particular reveals of units we can expect to see over the next 12 months. Now, I hope these aren't the only units we're getting over the next 12 months, and I'm sure they're not, before any of the people start freaking out that we're not seeing certain units. But let's go through the units that we are seeing. Now, there's some pretty obvious ones here, as I said, and some that we don't really know what they are, but we can have a good stab at guessing. So the first one is pretty clear. What we've got here is, this not a huge assumption, a little bit of an assumption. I'm pretty sure we're looking at the Cerberus. Now the Cerberus, much like the Typhon, is a Lord of War unit that uses the chassis of the Spartan. It's pretty easy for them to convert. We've seen GW are all about using the tank files that they have and then throwing out those tank units that are easy wins for them, and the Cerberus is certainly that. Much like the Typhon, it's just really a different weapon swap on the front. Now, I'm quite excited about the Cerberus because this weapon on this guy is much more useful than what we've got with the Typhon. Now, the Typhon's not terrible. It certainly has its purposes, in particular for taking out cheeky Galvor back, but you know what? This guy does it. And this guy does it just as well and is also really useful against so many other units. So the Cerberus is a unit I can't wait to get on the table. It's going to be great for taking out those elite infantry with strength 10. It's going to be great for taking out those pesky Custodes with AP1 and instant killing them as well. Great against tanks. We're not seeing many on the battlefield, but it's a nice bonus as well. So the Cerberus, I think it's going to be pretty popular. A little disappointing that we're seeing even more tanks coming out. I think we have enough. People get it. They get the tank thing. We know why it's happening, but it's not particularly useful in games because tanks aren't that great. So it is what it is. It's a great Lord of War. It's relatively cheap. It starts out at only like 425 points. So it's not that much more than a Kratos. You can definitely get it into some smaller games. It's not too outrageous. So Cerberus coming in 2023. Now, next up, I want to talk about this silhouette, this miniature that we've got here. Now, it's obviously not a Marine. It's not in power armor. It looks like an assassin. It's got that assassin kind of vibe to it. It's got that assassin kind of movement to it. This is once again an assumption. I don't know this for fact, but that's what I'm kind of thinking. Now, we saw a few Imperial-specific or Loyalist-specific assassins come in the Liber Imperium book. So my assumption is that this is a traitor-specific assassin, one infused with, evil warp powers and doing evil warp things, which we can kind of hint at with its claw there. So my guess is that this is a traitor assassin of some description. We can see in the angle that I've got here, which is a bit different to the angle on the front page of the Warhammer community article. It's got this kind of ranged weapon that's coming up in its left hand. So it's got this big claw in its right hand, and in its left hand, it's got something funky going on there, something laserish. It'll be really interesting to see what that is, because the assassins in general are falling a little flat in close combat just because they're so squishy. Attack squad can kind of kill most of them. So giving this unit or this model a bit of a decent ranged weapon in that left hand would be really nice. So we'll wait and see what we've got here. There is a chance also, and I don't think so, but there's a chance that this is actually the Mechanicum assassin. Now, I can't remember. Magistrum? I can't remember the name of it. Look, I've got the Mechanicum book right here. I'm not going to start flicking through it. No one's got time for that. But there is kind of this assassin model in the Mechanicum that I don't think we have a miniature for in the line. So it could also be that. I don't think that's overly likely just because I'm not getting huge Mechanicum vibes from this miniature. But who can say with the Mechanicum? I did actually flick open the book. It is the Arquitor Magisterium. I was close. I was so close. It is, it comes in a single unit, which would match here. It can have either a phase plasma fusel or a photon thruster. That could definitely be a photon thruster on the left hand there. It's certainly a thing. It comes base with a corpuscent stave though, which is not what we're seeing in that right hand there. It can get a Paragon Blade, but I don't think that's what we're looking at either. So I think it's pretty unlikely that that's our Mechanicum assassin, or what are they? They're the accusers and judges of Tech Heresy. Same. Is that Loyalist? Yeah, it's Loyalist as well. Just for the Mechanicum there, that unit. I don't think we're looking at a Loyalist assassin here. I think it's Traitor. So look, don't think it's Mechanicum. Where would we see this? We don't have rules for this at the moment. So I'm assuming this miniature will maybe get rules in the Cult and Militia PDF that we know is coming, or maybe some other rules that are coming in the future. But I'll talk about that a little later on instead of focusing on that right now. So let's look at one of the other silhouettes we got, one of the other units. We've got here the Librarian. Now, is it a Librarian? Yes, it is. It's pretty obvious. It hints at it in the article as well, that it's definitely a Librarian. I don't know quite what this unit's going to look like. We've obviously got the Psychic Hood coming up back there. We've got the stave of magic-y goodness. And then it looks like kind of his hand in the left there is held up in some kind of majestic, magic-y psychic power pose. Sure, we've got some cape kind of thing going on. Bulky. Looks like a pretty bulky miniature. Standing on, no doubt, some rocks, because it can't be an independent character in this game if it's not standing on some rocks. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a Librarian. So good to finally see one coming in the Heresy. Personally, I'm actually using a Librarian from the more modern Space Marine range that came out in that kind of, had Games Workshop do those old school Space Marines, order them. So I saw one that was in a bit of a Mark 6 armor situation going on. It's the guy holding his force axe above his head, and he's got that plasma pistol in his left hand. I did some swapping and some chopping on his gun and put on a different backpack, and now I have myself my Alpha Legion Librarian, because there isn't actually a generic Librarian Heresy model out there. A lot of people have been using whatever the guy's name is from the Red Scorpion range. Pretty sure the Red Scorpion, that's the chapter. But of course, he is no longer for sale, so you have to track that guy down, which isn't easy either. So it's going to be great to finally get a Librarian. Is it going to be plastic? Probably not. This is probably a resin miniature that we're looking at here, but that's absolutely fine. Just give us a Heresy Librarian that we can play around with, give some options to. Hopefully it does have more options, because the Force Stave, or whatever it's called, Force Staff, kind of sucks. Force Axes are fantastic, because it goes up to Strength 9, which is outrageous once you pass that Psychic check. So it'd be really great if this miniature came with some different options for Force weapons, and I'm sure it will. And when I say sure, I'm not actually sure, but I hope. I'm positive. I'm staying positive that we get some other Force weapons with this guy, because Librarians can get pretty nasty in close combat with those Force weapons if you give them the right one. So this reel here, obviously Librarian, great to see. We really need it. Definitely one of the better consoles out there, so people will grab this. No doubt it'll be very popular. Next up, we've got this little guy here. Now, there's two directions that this miniature could go in. We could either be looking at Exodus. Now, Exodus does not have a miniature. It was one of the few special characters to make the transition to Heresy 2.0 that did not have a miniature. What was the other one? I can't for the life of me remember. I think there was only one or two others. It was very few. And certainly those have been, I think maybe it was Dark Angels, what's his name, Corswain, or the other guy. And he recently got a miniature. So that's, the Dark Angels are all sorted. Whereas Exodus is still hanging out there without a miniature. So it's highly likely that this is Exodus. We can see the sniper rifle there. Of course, he's got a cape thing going on, which is very Alpha Legion-ish. And of course, very, very independent character-ish. So it's an easy assumption that this is a character, and therefore leaning towards Exodus. He's got that ridge coming up on his head, which the Alpha Legion are famous for. It's that kind of serpenty, Hydra, dragon-ish ridge they have coming up from their helmets, and that's what we can kind of see coming up the top there. The other option other than Exodus that this could be, and look, he's even standing on a rock, right? We can see it. His left foot is up there on some kind of rock or ammo crate or whatever that is, bit of masonry. But look, this could also be a plastic recon marine sergeant. Now, it's quite unlikely. That ridge that we see could, in fact, be one of the... What do they call? I'm not going great for names today. One of those, horsehair kind of things that they have over the head, the sergeants with the Mark 6 boxes. Someone's going to get really angry at me in the comments. Please put in the comments what the name of that thing is, and I will learn, and we will learn together. But look, it could be that coming up, that sergeant crest, if you will. But I don't think it is, because it'd have to be bigger to be that, because it'd be sticking up and out from the helmet, whereas this looks very much attached to the helmet, and that's why I don't think it is a recon sergeant, and I'm pretty confident it's Exodus, which of course I'm very excited about. My Alpha Legion army would love an Exodus model. I am purposefully not converting one up at the moment, in fact, because I know that Exodus is coming. He has to be coming. We've got rules for him, and this here, I think, is that miniature. So we now move on to the last reveal we've got, the last silhouette, and it's very obvious what this is. I mean, we could be tricked, but this here is our plastic jet bike. We're finally getting it. Hopefully we get it in units of 3. I say plastic. Geez, it'd be funny if they redid the resin model. Wouldn't that be a fun joke? But I'm very sure, very hopeful that this is a plastic jet bike that we're looking at here. We've got probably the sergeant of the unit, although it doesn't have to be because I think they can all take chainswords. But looks like the sergeant holding out that chainsword in a glorious pose, charging towards the enemy. We've got the heavy bolter on the front of the jet bike, which is great. Hopefully we also get options for multi-melters for all the bikes. I think that's still a thing in the box set that this comes with. Hopefully we are looking at a box set with 3 bikes in it, and hopefully it's not much more than $100, because right now it is just way too expensive to build any kind of jet bike themed army. Not that you really would, because the rules aren't fantastic, but once you start layering rules on top of them, for White Scars is the real go-to here. Dark Angels can do it a little bit, but mostly White Scars. Once you start layering those rules on, they become kind of playable and pretty decent with what they can achieve. Objective-wise, once they've got line, I'm pretty sure we can give them line. Yeah, sure, White Scars can do it, surely. So look, they become pretty good once they're capturing objectives for you, but building that White Scars army is a nightmare at the moment, which is such a shame, because the 5th Legion is so cool for so many reasons, lore-wise, at the top. The 5th Legion's amazing, but building that army is a nightmare, because building it costs thousands of dollars for the kind of jet bikes you want in that army. So plastic jet bikes are definitely on the top of the list of units that we want, and it looks like we're finally getting it. So that is the 5 reveals that we've had today. Now, a lot of people are a bit dissatisfied with these reveals, and I would say to those people, hold your breath, don't lose your shit yet. There are no doubt more units for Heresy coming in 2023 than what we've seen today. I'm sure this isn't everything. The main 2 that people want are the Assault Marines and the Breaches. These are 2 units that we don't have, and we don't have ready access to close combat weapons to make, is it the spoilers? Geez, that'd be embarrassing if I didn't get that right. So we need Assault Marines, we need Breaches, we need plastic options for them, because you can't reasonably build big units of them with those resin miniatures out of Forge World. It's just too expensive. The miniatures are pretty dated, and Forge World quality isn't fantastic, so doing bulk Forge World can be a bit frustrating. So I'm really hoping we see Assault Marines and Breaches in plastic in 2023. I'm sure we will. Just because they haven't been revealed doesn't mean they're not coming. So everyone relax. Sure, they're coming. Surely GW can't make a mistake that huge by not bringing those units as soon as possible. And I say as soon as possible, but at the pace that they choose to reveal them after the 1,000 tanks we get for Heresy. So that's what's coming. But why is 2023 going to be big besides these reveals? Well, it's going to be the real make or break for Heresy, because what we will hopefully see in 2023 is the rules moving forward. So we'll get those rest of those PDFs for the demons, for the cults and the militias, and then I'm just fascinated to see what we get beyond that. So that's why for me, 2023 is going to be so interesting. It'll really show us what direction GW is going to take moving forward with rules releases. Are they going to do, campaign-specific rules that include a little smattering of new units here or there? Are they going to do kind of Legion-specific releases, whether it be books or PDFs, specific, the First Legion, the Third Legion, etc., with new units coming through there, new options, new rules, new builds? Or are they going to look at releasing completely new factions? We don't know. It's still a mystery, but 2023 for me is so exciting because over the next 12 months, we're going to have to get an answer to that question. And I think that's going to be the real make or break for Heresy, is whether or not the way GW does the rules moving forward is palatable to the community and makes the game more interesting, more fun to play, keeps it fresh, keeps it moving forward. So that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. 2023 will make or break Heresy, with the range being rounded out in plastic and an answer to which direction GW is going to take with the rules going forward. Let me know in the comments which of these units you're most excited about and what else you are hoping is released over the next 12 months. Importantly, make sure to keep rolling those dice and getting hyped for Heresy.